Welcome back to Holden's Golden Age of Wargaming. Today we're going to take a look at Wargame Design Studios. This is a lot of games. There's over 100 titles, I believe, in the series altogether. And this is the earliest that you can go to in the titles, the Renaissance. Basically, we're starting off in the year 1495. Yeah, I'm a sucker for timelines, so I'd like to learn and play these games in the chronological order. So that is why we find ourselves in the Battle of Seminara on the 28th of June, 1495. There's two reasons why I'm doing these videos. The first reason, of course, is to give more exposure to WDS and its titles. I think that they're great war games, and they have a lot in common with tabletop wargaming. Of course, the computer, being computer assisted, they can get into the numbers a lot more than would be possible with a couple of humans on a tabletop, as we'll see as we go through. The second reason is I bought this game, the Renaissance, a few years ago, and I have tried to learn it, and I have bounced off quite a few times. So I'm going to, after I get this video done, and as I do the videos, I'm going to post to the WDS forum and Facebook group, and I'm hoping that one of those grizzled grognards that have played these games for years and years will take me under the wing and basically tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I am overlooking. I have played around with the getting started for scenario, and I think I have the basics, but there's a lot. There's quite a bit. I mean, everything in and of itself, once you know it, it works. It's quite straightforward, but there's a lot of details. The user manual is quite extensive. If we go there, I mean, it's, how many pages is it? 104 pages altogether, and I have read it several times, but it's coming from a tabletop wargaming background myself. I understand a lot of the concepts, but there are some things about this game that, or the series as a whole, that still probably elude. WDS, all the titles that they have, they used to be done by John Tiller Software. So John Tiller was the originator of a lot of these games. They have released some since his passing, his unfortunate passing. So that's where the roots are. And now they've been updating like mad, and the games have come a long ways in just the last couple of years. I really wanted to learn them. I really want to take on a human opponent, but to take on a human, when I play against another human, if I lose, I want to lose because I had a poor choice of tactics, or the bane of all war gamers has hit me, a lot of poor dice rolls. I don't want to lose because I don't understand the rules. I don't understand how the mechanics work. So my plan is, the first few, I'm going to play these battles in chronological order. The first few I'll play solo, or I'm going to play both sides, just like I would have done with the Tabletop Simulator SPI games. But eventually, once I feel I have a solid grasp on how the games work, I would like to start taking on human opponents. So as I said, I messed around with getting started, and then I took a look at Seminara, and I looked at the historical scenario, the historical setup, and they have it starting with the Spanish and Kingdom Naples to the north of the stream, and the French to the south. But all the units are there, with the exception, well, the cavalry, the French heavy cavalry arrive the turn you start, And I don't think the Spanish and the Kingdom of Naples have much of a chance. I played against the AI, and the AI, uh, where it has come a certain way, uh, if you're attacking the fixed position, I think the AI does a good job. In a situation like this, I'm trying to understand how the game works. I think I'd rather play both sides. A couple of years ago, I would say a game of this scope, you wouldn't be able to get AI that would properly be able to play the game. But the way things have gone lately, that I would say that the priority of WDS, Wargame Design Studios, is to upgrade the AI. Uh, so I think you probably see it eventually. However, the ultimate way to play these games, of course, is against a human opponent, and that's the goal of this: is to get myself, my abilities, up to the point where I feel comfortable taking on another human. So we're not going to play the historical uh, version of Seminara. We're going to play a variant of it. So the scenario briefing is Neapolitan and Spanish. Oh, by the way, I'm going to massacre these names. I can't get some English words right, let alone French, Italian, Spanish, German names. So what I'll probably do is, besides just trying to avoid saying the names, is I will come up with nicknames or something for some of these leaders when they're important to the battle. So, anyways, Neapolitan and Spanish allied armies under King Ferrant II and Gonzalo de Cordova marched out of Seminara with the intention of crushing the approaching French army under the Duc de Avignone, the Duke, we'll say, on the mistaken assumption that the French haven't yet been joined by their Swiss mercenaries. Now, we're going to play the variant scenario, so this is going to have all the armies still arriving on the battlefield, and the Spanish and Neapolitans will still have a difficult task securing victory, since the French gendarmes are superior to their Neapolitan counterparts, while the Spanish infantry will struggle to defeat the renowned Swiss mercenaries, especially since many of their Neapolitan allies are inexperienced and low quality. However, well, we'll get into Gonzalo. He's quite the guy, and we'll see him again. I think in the Battle of Ceranola, which takes place later on. But what's happening in this variant scenario is French forces we start off with them here to the south, and the Spanish, well, actually, it's just the Kingdom of Naples, I believe, at the beginning. The Spanish haven't arrived yet, but also for the French, the Swiss have not arrived. So, and there is a chance that the Swiss could be late, as we'll see here in a second. So I think it gives more chance to the Spanish Kingdom of Naples side. So we're going to play this one. And I will go through. I'll probably play the first couple turns where we're just getting to each other, and then after that, once things really get into it, I'll probably just do one turn for both sides and a video. All right, so let's start off with the French, and let me just get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. I find this one you can't. You have a hard time with these games getting rid of your taskbar, taking up valuable real estate on the screen. So I've got this little taskbar hider program. So let's see. There we go. It's gone. So if we go down here, we have the French. And as I said, I've messed around with this game quite a bit. And I understand the basics, I believe, but I'm probably going to say things for anybody that doesn't know how these games work. Do not take what I'm saying as gospel. I am saying what I believe is the way things work. Hopefully, as I said, once again, someone that has played these games for a long time can correct me in the comments below the video if I make any mistakes. And I'm certain to make some mistakes. But hopefully, as the video series goes on, I will become better and better, and then eventually, maybe I will do a tutorial on how to play these games. So, first thing is from what I found in this game is your commanders are very important. Well, for very first thing is, how do you win? How are we going to win this scenario? What do we need to do? So we click up here on reports, and this first button here, or the last button, it says victory conditions. So this shows the French were going to be side A, and side B will be the Kingdom of Naples and Spain. Basically, on here you can see infantry, cavalry, artillery, supply, and leader losses. And those will give us so many victory points for each side. And down here we can see right now we have total points of 150, and it's a draw because to get to minor victory we need to get 400 points. To get to a major victory we need 800 points. If we take enough losses, we'll drop down to minus 100, minor defeat, minus 500, major defeat. So the way to, of course, right off the bat, okay, killing the enemy. That's a great way to get points. But also, most, if not all scenarios, battles, there is objective hexes. If we look up here, we can see these symbols here, which I believe are the Kingdom of Naples flags. You see here, if we look, this is called the hex info area down here. And here it says objective, 50 points. I believe this one and this one. So these three hexes all are objective hexes, and they will each give us 100 or 50 points for a total of 100. We look at the victory conditions. Another 150 points would get us up to 300. So they're in and of themselves, they're not going to win us the battle, but that's definitely, besides killing the enemy, this is another way for the French to get victory points. If we could take those objective X's away from the Kingdom of Naples. Okay, so the next thing is we have leaders. Now what I do is, I look up here, there is display org. So this will show us the France, the Swiss mercenaries, the Imperialists of Spain, and the Italian states. So if we look at France, right now we have the cavalry, the first company, second company, third company. They're not even on the board. The company French, that's what I'm going to say. We have the Gascons, which is right here. Let's move this over here. We have the first band, which is right here. We have the second band here, and the artillery does not appear to have arrived yet. I have not played this scenario. I did play the variant A, or the stock scenario of this battle, Seminara. So we have basically, from what I just saw there, we have three organizations. So what I do is I click on the leader, and you can see that when he's lit up, you'll see, or any one of these units, I believe, yeah, it will show all the other units in the same group as lit up. So, and each group will have a leader usually. So this group, his name is Colonel Gascons, which I would assume means he's just a generic colonel to be the leader. So I also, now you can go to unit, I believe, and you can go right here to click command range, but I like to show the organizations, I'll hit the Q key on the keyboard, and then I'll usually, to show the command range of leaders, I'll hit the C key, but it's also up here on this bar, so I'm going to hit that, and then we can all of a sudden see that Colonel Gascon has a command range of these lit up hexes. So it's not that big. So, but you want, and if we look at this leader here, Colonel of the first band, see he's basically the direct commander of all these lit up units, and that's his command range. And then over here we have the Colonel of the second band. We click on him, we'll see his command range, and these are the units under his command. So one of the very first things I learned about this game is that leaders are important, and the command range is important. So we need to have these units for each of these commanders. They need to stay inside of that command range. It's not a great idea to leave that command range, because why? Well, the very first thing that will happen is the unit will become detached. And we'll actually, you can see right here, this colonel, he's detached because, well, we'll not get into that yet, because that's about how the commanders work with each other. But he'll get it if a unit is not within the command radius, we'll get a detached status. And what detached means is that you can't. It's too far away from the commander. You can't get orders. So what that does to you as far as game terms is it means that the unit cannot initiate melee combat. And this is by the default rules. I guess I should show that very quickly. I'm just going to go up here because this is how I know to get to it. Or no, the rules are optional rules. So there's all, we're not going to get into this today, but I am playing with the default rules, and I will be playing with the default rules for quite some time, I'm sure. But one of the default rules is that detached units cannot initiate melee combat, and they also, if they're outside of their command range, they could not take over an objective hex. All right, so now some units, it won't matter. You don't want to do melee attacks with them, so they can get outside the command range. It's not the end of the world. However, that leads us into the second thing that commanders do, and that is units can become disordered and they can rout, and they need their commanders to help bring them back. So every unit has a quality, and the quality is basically when you roll, the computer behind the scenes will roll a 6-sided dice if your unit becomes disordered. If every time it does a morale check, and quality goes from A, C, B, C, D, E, and so basically, if you roll the 6-sided dice, if you roll a D, you'll get, if you're 2 or less, you'll pass your morale check. If you were an E quality, you'd have to roll 1. If you're an A quality, you'd have to roll 5 or less. So right off the bat, you can see, hey, that's great. So A quality troops, 5 or less, and they'll succeed on a morale check. These guys here, they're quality D. They need to roll 1 or 2 to pass the morale check. However, if they are detached, if they are outside of their direct commander's command radius, I believe they only can pass a morale check and recover from being disordered or routed if they roll a 1. So, boom, the chances to rally go way down. So that's one of the main reasons why you want to keep your units inside of your leader's command range, direct commander's command range. Then there's the leaders and how they work with each other. So this leader here, you see this, he's got a D. So this B means a brigade level leader, and this D means division level. And then there's A, or actually there's W for wing, and then A for an army level commander. And so the commanders all work together. As you can see, this division level commander, look at his command radius, it's much bigger. But all he cares about, as far as I can tell, is that if these brigade leaders are inside of his command radius and he passes his check, he'll give them a bonus. He'll make them better than what they would normally be, so that they will have a better chance to, I guess I didn't go into the leaders will add their quality as a bonus to your units under them's morale checks. Okay. Hopefully I got that all right. Basically, for today, what I'm going to do, basically at the end of the day, what does that mean? You want to keep your units inside of their direct commander's command radius, if at all possible, to help them, well, first of all, initiate melee attacks, and also if they, run into trouble and become disordered, it will help them rally. Routed, I believe you actually have to have the commander in the same hex as the routed unit for him to give the bonus. Except for higher level leaders like division or army, I think they just have to be in the adjacent hex. So that is just command. So there you go. This is the kind of game this is going to be, and I love games like this, but this is one of the reasons why I have bounced off of it, because there's quite a lot to it. Like anything, once you know it, it's easy, but there is a bit of a learning curve. One of the other things about battle is context. I guess I kind of skipped that. Seminara, 28th of June, 1495. It is in southern Italy. This is after Charles VIII came down and basically took over the Kingdom of Naples. He planned to have it as a jumping, what's just a way he basically lead up to doing a crusade onwards to the Ottoman Empire. Uh, so he came in, he did really well, and then too well actually, because all the other Italian states, including Milan, which was actually, allied or sympathetic to him in the beginning, they all allied against him. So this is at the point, and that was in 1494. So in 1495, this is down at the very bottom of southern Italy, and it's near the quite near Sicily actually, and the Kingdom of Naples is fighting here, but the Spanish have come over with that the commander that we were talking about before. What was his name? Pretty important guy, Gonzalo de Cordova. And so what? In this battle, the Kingdom of Naples and the Spanish get spanked by the French, because the French basically the Kingdom of Naples and Spain, their armies have not kept up with the times as they're about to learn in this battle. And historically, they came down to this stream and they basically stood there to let the French come up, where they would stop them as they tried to cross the stream. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. The Swiss were quite instrumental, as well as the French heavy cavalry, which I think appear over here later on in the game. And they spanked them. But the leader there, why can't I remember his name? It's going to be terrible. Terrible. Cordova. I'm just going to call him Cordova. I can say that. Cordova. So he learns from this, though, and he basically starts getting, because I think they're all crossbowmen and crossbowmen. They're not. There's not a lot of arquebus. I believe there are some of the arquebuses troops here, but they're definitely behind the times compared to the French. Even through if the French, if you look here, I think these guys are all armed with crossbows as well. So it's really the Swiss, from what I could tell, that had the higher tech weaponry and much better military doctrine. So anyways, so historically, the Spanish and the Kingdom of Naples lose this fight, and this battle is kind of at the point where medieval moves into Renaissance. So you had artillery before this, the big guns that were around at the late medieval stage, but now the arquebus, the predecessor to the musket, uh, starts to dominate the battlefield. So I've talked enough. It's time to play. So I'm going to look here. So I see I have, as I said before, I have 3 different groups. I'm going to try to keep them together. So, and we're going to try to run up to the stream. So here we go. So we got 300 men in each of these groups. If you right click on they call this the unit card, you can see that their infantry, they form 3-rank line. There's front 9%, we'll get into that later. They're armed with crossbows. This is how far they can fire. Through each hex further away, the damage becomes considerably less. And they're also there, if you look at the graphic of them here, you see that they're in column. And it says down here column, and then this is the way they're facing. Like tabletop board games, these units have zonal control hexes, which would be the 2 hexes in front of, like, for example, this one here would have zonal control here. When an enemy unit comes inside of these hexes, it will have to stop, just like in tabletop board gaming. But these units being in column, they can, and it's called right here, it's called the change formation. This is column is for traveling. We're getting someplace fast. But once they get into a situation where they want to battle, they're going to change their formation to a line formation, as we will see, which is much slower for movement, and it's a lot easier. I think, for example, we look at this forest here, it says line and cavalry disorder. So this column, infantry in column formation can go through the forest and not become disordered by default rules. But if it was in line, it would instantly become disordered. And disordered is bad. Disordered, look here, yeah, basically all of a sudden you have all kinds of penalties. You can only move at 2/3 the speed. You can only attack at 1/3 of the speed. You can only defend at 2/3, on and on and on. You don't want to be disordered. You especially don't want to be routed. So, anyways, so line is for battling. You're much more effective. I think you only do, like, each nation's a little different. And here you look in here in the parameter data. I did make a spreadsheet. It makes this information much easier to understand. But if we go down here, we should see right here. So for example, column melee mod, or actually I want to, well, sure. The French, when they're in column, their melee, if they do a melee attack, it would be at minus 25%. The Spanish would be, where are the Spanish? Why don't I see them? Right here, minus 25% as well. I think they also get a fire penalty, don't they? Oh yeah, so the fire modifier. So when you're in column, you only do 1/4 of the damage you normally would do if you were in line. So we don't want to be in column when we're fighting the enemy. So anyways, right now though, we're just on the approach. So up we're going to go. And yes, I'm actually going to do something. You see here we have 18 movement points. If we move 1 hex, that goes down to 15. So every hex has a movement cost, which can differ between units. And of course, going through a woods hex would cost a lot more movement than going through an open field hex. But we're just going to move these guys up. So up they go. And oh, here's the other thing. Clicking on units once does not select it, just lets you see the unit card. But if it, you'll probably see me do this, you actually don't have it selected yet. You have to double click on it, or click on it once, then come down and click on the unit card. You need to see it lit up for it to actually be selected. So we move once, we're going to keep moving up. Up we go, and that's as far as we can go. I'm then going to move the commander. I like to see that command radius. We're going to come up like this. And of course, why can't I go any further? Because I'm max. I didn't pay attention. I'm taking the supply wagons with me. So we're going to uncheck them, and we'll move up here. So now we see that all the other 2 units, when they move up, we want to have them in this command phase. Not so critical when you're not near the enemy, at least I hope it's not. But just for me to get in the habit, I want to keep these guys inside of their commander's command radius. Up they go. And if we check here, we see that yes, they're all in the command radius. And up, so we're almost halfway to the stream. The Kingdom of Naples and the Spanish are certainly closer to the stream. They'll be able to get there first. And they did, historically, and then they stayed there. But I don't think we're going to do that when we play with the Spanish and the Kingdom of Naples. All right, next group, we have this colonel and these units here. So what do we have? These are fixed units. That means that they can't actually move. They are just basically there for appearances, I guess, and the supply wagons. I don't really understand why these units are here. They're fixed. If other than just because they actually were historically and they want to be correct, but they didn't actually have any part of the battle. So we have this colonel here. You see his command radius. And this unit here, these units up here were all crossbow infantry. But this unit here is different. Because first of all, we can see that actually by hitting the tab key, I can see the amount of men on each unit. This is I really wanted this feature for a while. The only way you could tell how many men were in each unit was by clicking on it and seeing the card, which is all, it makes it a lot harder to at a glance see what's going on. So here we can tell that this unit has 950 men, whereas the crossbow units only have 300 men. So why is that? Why is the picture different? Well, that's because these guys are pipe, but they're not Swiss pipe, which we're quickly going to learn are the creme de la creme in this era. These are French pike. They're not as good, as you can see from quality of D, One of the reasons why they weren't as good is because, unlike the Swiss pikemen, these guys were, if there was France was at war, they'd put together, sent out. As soon as peacetime would come, they would disband. So these are not. They just didn't get as much experience. They weren't as battle hardened as the Swiss pikemen would be. So they're basically a poor man's pike unit. From what I could tell, reading all the books I've been simulating lately. These games are great for getting you interested in the period. I've been soaking up all kinds of information on the Renaissance. It's not an era I had really any knowledge of before getting into this game. So that's one of the great things about wargaming. I find it makes you interested, gives you a personal, uh, touch to these battles. You can read about them, but it's much more interesting reading about battles, knowing that I'm actually going to fight them. So these guys are slower. So if we look here, actually we'll have to look at one that hasn't moved yet. They got an 18 movement, those crossbow infantry. The pike infantry only have them 12, so they're a lot slower. They also, whereas the crossbowmen infantry can go from column to line, the pike, they don't form a line, they'll form a block. And that's very good against defending against cavalry. The crossbowmen aren't going to be they're not going to like fighting against cavalry, which we'll see, I'm sure, as this battle goes on. However, the cavalry are not going to want to charge these pikemen if they're in block formation. Or if the cavalry can catch them while they're in column, then if I go up here and view leaders on top, so yeah, so we can see that they are on column. I'll turn the numbers off here as well. And also you can see that the crossbowman has an L. That means it's a light infantry, which it also says down here. Whereas the pikemen are definitely not light. And it also, they say restricted, and that is all these most units, well, a lot of infantry, light infantry, for example, they can break themselves down and they can form skirmisher squadrons, which you can send out, and they're basically use them for scouting, screen for your main forces, and then if there's like a really obstructed area that you wouldn't want to take a line of troops in, like skirmishers are excellent for holding the positions like that. I'm sure the skirmishers are good for more things than that, but I haven't had a lot of experience using them yet. But hopefully there's more to them than just that. All right, so these pikemen, and the colonels, we're going to double click, select them all. Double clicking on a hex will select all the units in it, and we're going to move them up. So this here is a slope. If I go to the map and I click this, you can see that down here's the valley. It's at a level 0, whereas this is level 1. And yes, of course, if the enemy is attacking you up a slope, they will take a penalty. So, there's not a lot of room here, so I think we'll just head straight up. And we will form around the commander. So now they'd like, this is actually the divisional commander. We're going to just select him and move him here for now. I'll figure out what to do with him in a little bit. The commanders, besides doing all the things I forgot, besides the rallying and keeping units from becoming detached, they also, the unit that they are stacked with, they will give bonuses to the damage inflicted from fire and melee attacks. So commanders are very, very important, as they were back then. They're much more important than they are nowadays. Let's see here. We have 2 units of crossbowmen, so I'm going to move one up. Now, in the parameter data, you can see that there is stacking limits, so we can have a maximum of 1,600 men in a hex, or 5 different counters, 5 different units. And then cavalry, the max stacking is 800 men. But I believe that if you get to 2/3 of that value, if a enemy is firing into that hex, they will get bonuses to their damage, because of course you have so many men crammed into a small area that if you shoot into that area, you can't help but hit something. So I'm going to try to keep my units spread out a little bit. I don't know if I should have like 2 crossbowmen units stacked together in in one hex, because that would only be 800 out of 1600 stacking limit. But of course, if you want to cover more area for your line, you're going to have to spread them out. So that is what I'm choosing to do. So up they come, and they can make it to there. If I look at my command radius, I would go one more, but I would get out of the command radius of the leader and become, I guess I should put leaders back on top. So we see where they are. So he would become detached. Once again, when we're this far from the enemy, I don't think that's such a big deal, but just for my trying to get into that habit of always keeping these command radiuses in mind, I'm going to keep them close together like this. Here we have 2 more crossbow units, as long as 2 fixed units. We don't care about them. We're going to move these guys up like this. I guess we're going to do a wedge here, wedge shape, just like that. If we look here, we see all the units are in command radius. That's excellent. And then we have our second band. Once again, we have another 975 men, which means, yep, this is a pike unit. My phone alarm's going off. 1 second here. Okay, so these 2 pike units that we're going to leave our brigade commanders with are integral to French success. I don't believe that the other side has these, and these pikemen are going to be able to just go right through the enemy. These French pikemen are not the the creme de la creme. The Swiss are, but the Swiss aren't here yet. And I guess I haven't gone into that either. And that is, I believe there is a, one of these is going to be reinforcements. Yeah, right here. So we can see that, okay, first of all, we should know what time it is. If I just click on a blank hex, we see down at the bottom here it's 10 a.m. So that's what time it currently is. And then if we click on reinforcements, we see that 10:30. And turns in this game are 15 minutes. So 2 turns from now, our Swiss should arrive. The Swiss pikemen. Oh no, actually, sorry. This is just our artillery. Our artillery will arrive. And then we see that the other side is going to get, and it even shows you what hex they're going to appear on. This is because one of the things that by playing solo, playing both sides, I'm eliminating one of the important things about these games, and that is the fog of war. I don't think I'd be able to see where the enemy's reinforcements are coming on if I was playing against a human opponent or the AI with fog of war on. So obviously, fog of war is a great and for adding realism to the game, but we're playing it as if we were playing on a tabletop. And but hopefully, eventually, I will be able to feel I'm up to the level of challenging a human opponent. And then when I play them, if I make videos of those battles, we're only going to see it from my side. And we can be surprised and flanked, and traps can be laid, and all that good stuff that I'm so excited to experience. But first of all, I have to get there first. So on the reinforcement, on the scheduled dialogue, we see that there's over here we see 65%. What's that mean? That means that at 10:30, 2 turns from now, there will be a 65% chance that the artillery is going to show up. So that means there's a 35% chance it won't, which will cause us no end of grief. And then I believe every turn after that, the chance raises for the artillery to show up. So we don't know exactly when they're going to get there. We can see that for a lot of the reinforcements, it's 100% chance. However, even down here at the bottom, this I think is our, it's our heavy cavalry. They'll show up at 12 o'clock today, but there's only a 75% chance. We might not get them exactly at 12. So this, I believe, that's why I'm playing this scenario. I think that the Spanish and the Kingdom of Naples have a lot more chance of winning this scenario than they do the stock historical scenario. Anyways, I will get back to it here. So these guys are going to move up. Move them up like this. And then we have more crossbow infantry. A lot of crossbow infantry, which I believe a lot of the French infantry at the time, that's what they wanted. They didn't want to fight up close. They wanted to be able to shoot you from a fair distance away with a crossbow. And their quality is, I'm looking at here, I don't see anything. There's nothing that's great here. It's all, these guys are like our best. They have a quality of C, which is only halfway up the scale. Yeah, a lot of C quality and a lot of D. These pikemen here, no, these aren't pikemen. Crossbowmen, they have a quality of B. So like, these guys have been around for a while. They're our veterans. These guys, just good old quality D troops. So they're gonna set. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna look at our commander quickly. See his command radius. We'll move over here and up. Our command radius, fine. These guys up here like this. And oops, let's go up here. 400 men will move out, up, and move these guys up here like this. And we look at our command radius. We see that all the troops are there. So our 3 groups, and then I think I'm forgetting the supply wagon. Okay, so supply wagons. They are in this game. I'm still not quite sure about how fast these supplies go out. It says that one supply can resupply 10 men. Well, with the amount of men here, this supply wagon would run out of supplies real fast. At least I think. I haven't played enough with the supplies to see what happens. But I do know that they need to be within 5 hexes of the unit that they're going to resupply. And why do they need to resupply? Well, there's, besides being disordered and routed, there's other statuses that your units can experience. And now, first would be low on ammo, and the second would be out of ammo. So it's, I think for the first 4 turns of a scenario, you don't have to worry about ammo checks. But after that, every time a unit fires, it has to make a check. There's a certain low, like 4% chance that they will all of a sudden be low on ammo, and then they can go from there to being out of ammo. So in this game, there is, by playing with the default rules, you have 2 types of fire: offensive fire and defensive fire. And the when you're low on ammo, you can only do the defensive fire, which is like opportunity, fire of opportunity. The enemy moves in front of you, and you have ranged weapons. You'll shoot. There's a 50% chance to shoot your ranged weapons at them. So you can, a unit that's low on ammo can still do the defensive fire, but the offensive fire, which is where you, the player, are commanding that unit to fire at this unit, you can't do that anymore when they're low on ammo. And then if they're out of ammo, they can't do defensive fire either. So the only way to get them back up to normal is if you have to resupply them, and that the supply wagons will do if they're within 5 hexes of the unit that is low on ammo or out of ammo. Hopefully I have that right. So I don't think I moved the supply wagon, so I'm just going to move it at a safe distance behind the troops. Like right now, we can see these 400 crossbowmen over here. If they were low on ammo, they wouldn't be able to resupply because it's a range of 6 to the supply wagon, and they'd be too far away. So we'd have to quickly move them or the supply wagons closer together so that they could resupply. All right, so as you can see, as we go in here, I can very easily get distracted by how things work, but I'm also, that's the point of this video is, hopefully anybody that's watching that has played these games for a long time, if I'm missing something or I'm getting something wrong, please, in the comments below, let me know. That's one of the main reasons for doing these is I am trying to learn the games. So I think we will leave it there for today, for this video. I thought I was going to do both sides, but there's so much explaining going on right now, and thinking that I think this video has run long enough. So next video we will be playing the Kingdom of Naples, and we'll be coming down to the stream. Unlike the historically though, we are not going to stop the stream. We're going to try to come over. Looking at this right now, if I hit the tab key, if we look at the numbers here, I would say this force, just by looking at it, looks a lot bigger than the French force. So if we could hit them before the Swiss and their artillery show up, I think it would be to the Kingdom of Naples and Spain's advantage. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you'd like to see more, please hit the subscribe button. It just the feedback lets me know. I'm not trying to make money here or anything. This is way too niche for that. But it is nice to know that people are enjoying the videos. It definitely motivates me to make them, to make the next one. Until then, though, I will wish you guys a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.